Right now, silent and strange objects are drifting past our planet in the endless dark. This is not just about stars and planets. We have filled the cosmos with forgotten satellites, bizarre experiments, and even a sports car. By the end of this journey, you will know the 30 most peculiar things currently sharing our solar system. We will uncover a cemetery for dead satellites and investigate a mystery object that baffled astronomers. What does our lonely junk floating in the void say about our journey to the stars? High above us, a tiny silver sphere no bigger than a grapefruit has been tracing a lonely path around our planet for over 6 decades. This is Vanguard 1, the oldest human-made object in space. Launched in 1958 by the United States, it was a marvel of its time, designed to test the effects of the space environment on a satellite and its systems. Its primary mission was a success, sending back valuable data that helped pave the way for everything that followed. But the true wonder of Vanguard 1 is not in what it did, but in what it has become. Its internal electronics fell silent long ago, its purpose fulfilled. Yet, against all odds, this miniature pioneer is still up there. It has outlived the scientists who built it, witnessed the rise and fall of empires, and continues its silent vigil, a permanent relic of humanity's first tentative steps into the cosmos. It is a ghost from the dawn of the space age, destined to circle our world for centuries more, a monument to our ambition cast in aluminum and silence. While Vanguard 1 was a deliberate monument, some of the strangest objects in orbit were created by pure accident. In 2008, during a routine spacewalk to repair a jammed solar panel rotary joint on the International Space Station, astronaut Heidemarie Stefanishin Piper faced a messy situation. A grease gun inside her toolbag had burst, coating her gloves and the equipment. As she worked to clean the mess, the entire bag, a sizable kit about the size of a large backpack, drifted from her grasp. In the weightless environment, there was no clatter, no drop, just a silent and steady departure. With one small mistake, she had just launched a new, independent satellite. The toolbag, officially catalogued by space surveillance networks, began its own solitary journey around Earth. For a time, it was even visible from the ground with a good pair of binoculars, a gleaming man-made star chasing its mother station across the night sky. It was a stark reminder that in the unforgiving vacuum of space, there is no gravity to bring a dropped tool to your feet. Every action has a reaction, and every lost item becomes a piece of high-speed debris, orbiting the planet until the thin outer atmosphere finally drags it down to a fiery end. This lost toolbag did eventually burn up, but its brief, brilliant flight serves as a permanent lesson etched in the void. But for every lost toolbag we know about, there are objects whose origins remain completely unknown. In recent years, skywatchers and astronomers have occasionally spotted something streaking across the heavens at impossible speeds. One such object, captured on video, moved with a strange, pulsing motion that gave it an ethereal, almost organic appearance. It was quickly nicknamed the Space Jellyfish. This was no slow, drifting piece of debris. It moved with a velocity that seemed to defy conventional explanation, a silent and shimmering enigma against the backdrop of stars. So what could it possibly be? The most grounded theory suggests it is simply a piece of space debris, perhaps a tumbling fragment from a rocket body or an old satellite, rotating in just the right way to catch the sun's light in a series of brilliant, rhythmic flashes. Its apparent speed could be an illusion of perspective as it passes relatively close to Earth. Yet, its unusual behavior has fueled other, more secretive possibilities. Could it be a highly classified military or intelligence satellite, one whose capabilities and maneuvers are kept far from public catalogs? Such objects do exist, performing missions in the shadows, and their unexpected appearances can create precisely this kind of mystery. The vastness of space makes tracking and identifying every single object an immense challenge. Our orbital highways are crowded with both the known and the unknown, and the space jellyfish stands as a perfect example of a modern space phantom, a fleeting glimpse of something we cannot easily categorize, reminding us that even in our own celestial backyard, surprises are still gliding through the dark. Perhaps the most audacious piece of space junk ever created began its journey not with a scientific goal, but as a spectacular test mass. In February 2018, SpaceX launched its first Falcon Heavy rocket, and sitting atop it was Elon Musk's own cherry red Tesla Roadster. Instead of a traditional, dense payload, the world watched as a sports car, complete with a spacesuited mannequin named Starman at the wheel, was hurled into the void. The car's sound system was set to play David Bowie's song Space Oddity on a loop, a surreal soundtrack for an even more surreal journey. For a brief, breathtaking moment, cameras attached to the rocket's upper stage showed Starman cruising through the blackness, the blue marble of Earth hanging in the distance behind him. It was a moment of pure theater, a blend of marketing genius and cosmic whimsy that captured the global imagination. Today, that car is no longer in orbit around our planet. The final rocket burn sent it on a path around the Sun, an elliptical journey that takes it from inside Earth's orbit out past the orbit of Mars. It has become a permanent, if peculiar, member of our solar system. Starman, forever silent in his driver's seat, continues his endless road trip through the inner solar system. This bizarre artifact raises a profound question about our future in space. Is it merely a piece of high-profile space debris, a frivolous stunt that littered the cosmos? Or is it something more, a piece of performance art that speaks to a fundamental human desire to leave our mark, to inject a little bit of our culture and our humor into the sterile emptiness? It is a time capsule of early 21st century ambition, a symbol of a new era where private companies could launch a car into the heavens just because they could. Long after the company that built it is gone, that silent red car will still be tracing its lonely path, a monument to human audacity cast in metal, rubber, and pure, unadulterated strangeness. Far stranger than a lost sports car is a story woven from shadows and whispers, a legend of something that should not be there at all. For decades, a persistent myth has haunted the edges of space exploration, the tale of the Black Knight satellite. This fable describes an alien probe of immense age, a silent sentinel from another star system that has been orbiting our planet for thousands of years, watching and waiting. The evidence presented by believers is often a collection of grainy photographs and cryptic radio signals, all pointing to an intelligence lurking just beyond our atmosphere. The truth, however, is far more human and just as fascinating. The legend of the Black Knight is a patchwork quilt of misidentifications and real space events stitched together by our desire for cosmic company. One of the most famous images purported to show the alien craft was later identified as a thermal blanket lost during a spacewalk from the International Space Station, a piece of modern debris tumbling end over end. Other signals attributed to the Black Knight were likely natural celestial phenomena or early human-made satellites that were not yet publicly acknowledged. So why does this story endure with such power even after being thoroughly debunked? The Black Knight is no longer just a failed conspiracy. It has transcended into something else entirely. It has become a permanent fixture in our collective imagination, a symbol for the ultimate space mystery. It represents the tantalizing possibility that we are not alone and that the void we are trying to conquer might already be occupied. It is the ghost story we tell ourselves about the final frontier, a narrative so compelling that the facts barely seem to matter. The real artifact is not a piece of alien technology, but the story itself, an enduring human-made constellation of fear, wonder, and hope that continues to orbit in our culture long after the thermal blanket burned up in the atmosphere. That ghost story of a satellite was born from misidentified human clutter, but one of the most perfectly human artifacts ever lost in orbit had no mystery about its origin at all. It was a single glove. During the Gemini 4 mission in 1965, astronaut Ed White made history by performing the first American spacewalk. As he floated outside the capsule, tethered to the spacecraft, he was so captivated by the experience that he famously had to be ordered back inside. In the controlled chaos of re-entering the small craft, a spare glove, a piece of his essential backup equipment, slipped away. It drifted out of the hatch and into the infinite black. For a few brief weeks, that glove became a unique piece of space history. It orbited the Earth at a staggering 17,000 miles per hour, a speed that transformed this simple piece of fabric into the most hazardous item in space at that time. Even something so small and soft, moving at such velocity, carries the destructive force of a cannonball. It was a silent, lonely reminder of a triumphant human moment, a tiny satellite with a deeply personal connection to one of our greatest adventures. Its solo journey was short-lived. The tenuous grip of Earth's upper atmosphere soon caught up with it, and the glove, unable to withstand the intense heat of re-entry, burned up in a final, brilliant flash. It was gone, leaving behind only the memory of its brief, dangerous flight and the poignant image of a single, empty glove tumbling through the void, a tiny and fleeting monument to human ambition and human error. Some of the most peculiar objects in space began not as lost items, but as intentional releases. High above the planet, life aboard the International Space Station is a masterclass in recycling, especially when it comes to water. A sophisticated system on board captures moisture from the air, sweat from exercise, and yes, even astronaut urine, purifying it all back into clean, drinkable water. This is a vital, closed-loop system for survival, but this process is not perfectly efficient. It leaves behind a concentrated brine, a salty, liquid byproduct that has to go somewhere. The solution is as simple as it is strange. This waste brine is periodically vented directly out of the station into the vacuum of space. The moment it meets the void, something beautiful and bizarre happens. The liquid instantly flash freezes, transforming from a mundane stream into a glittering cloud of countless tiny ice crystals. For a few moments, a shimmering, miniature constellation drifts away from the station, catching the sunlight like a burst of cosmic dust. It is a routine piece of station housekeeping that creates a temporary, ethereal sculpture. This cloud of frozen human waste does not last long before it disperses and sublimates back into gas. But while it exists, it represents one of the most direct and oddly poetic links between our most basic biological functions and the sublime beauty of the cosmos. It is a glittering reminder that even in the sterile, high-tech environment of a spaceship, the most human elements of life are always along for the ride. Far removed from these known and documented artifacts, a true enigma once took up residence in the most valuable piece of celestial real estate. High above the equator, at an altitude where a satellite's orbit matches the rotation of the Earth itself, an object appeared where none was expected. This is the geostationary belt, a narrow ring where communications and spy satellites park themselves, appearing to hang motionless over a single point on the planet. It is a crowded and meticulously catalogued highway, so when an amateur satellite observer spotted a new, uncatalogued object in this precise orbit in 2007, professional astronomers were immediately baffled. They gave it the unofficial and perfectly fitting nickname WTF. The object was large, comparable in size to a small car, and it was definitely man-made. Yet no nation on Earth claimed it. It had no known launch, no registered frequency, and no discernible purpose. For years, it drifted in this strategic orbit, a silent and uninvited guest at the party. The lack of data was a vacuum, and nature, along with human imagination, abhors a vacuum. Speculation ran wild. Was it a defunct satellite from a secret military program, somehow drifting into a new position? Could it have been a piece of debris from some forgotten collision or explosion? a cosmic billiard ball that had improbably found its way into this perfect, stable orbit. Or was it something more deliberate, a stealthy inspection satellite designed to covertly observe other spacecraft, its very existence meant to be deniable? The truth, when it finally emerged, was a testament to the chaotic and crowded nature of our orbital environment. Analysis of its slow tumble and eventual trajectory pointed to a likely origin, the upper stage of a Russian rocket that had launched a communications satellite years earlier. A leftover piece of a known mission, its orbit had been perturbed over time by the subtle gravitational tugs of the Sun and Moon until it was captured into this temporary geostationary slot. It was not an alien probe or a secret weapon, but a piece of common junk on an uncommon path. But the story of WTF is far more significant than its identity. It represents the countless unknown objects sharing our sky. Our official catalogs track tens of thousands of items, but it is estimated that millions of smaller, untracked fragments are whizzing around up there. Every uncatalogued object is a potential mystery, a WTF moment waiting to happen. It is a stark reminder that we have filled the space around our planet with so much clutter that we cannot even keep track of it all, and that sometimes the most puzzling things floating above us are simply pieces of ourselves, lost and waiting to be found. That sprawling, chaotic belt of geostationary satellites is not the final resting place for these aging machines. When a satellite parked in that precious stationary slot finally reaches the end of its operational life, it cannot simply be left to drift among the active ones. A single defunct satellite tumbling out of control could become a weapon of mass destruction, triggering a chain reaction of collisions in our most vital orbital highway. The solution is as methodical as it is morbid, a designated cemetery in the sky. Engineers use the last precious drops of a satellite's fuel to give it one final push, boosting it up and out of its geostationary parking spot. It is sent on a slow, climbing journey to a higher, more desolate orbit, a region officially known as the graveyard orbit. This is a silent, sprawling junkyard hundreds of miles above the operational zone, a ring of space reserved for the dead. Here, the retired giants of our communication and weather networks drift in an endless, slow-motion procession. They are the ghost ships of the information age, their solar panels dark, their transmitters silent. Some may still be slowly spinning, a last vestige of movement in their eternal vigil. This is not a place you can visit, but it exists as a very real and growing constellation of our technological past. Every retired satellite adds another tombstone to this celestial necropolis, a permanent monument to the cycles of innovation and obsolescence that we have launched into the heavens themselves. It is a sobering thought that long after the companies and nations that built these machines are gone, their metallic corpses will continue to circle our world, a silent, high-altitude museum of our ambitions. While our orbital graveyards hold the ghosts of our technology, a much quieter and more profound monument sits nearly 240,000 miles away on the surface of the Moon. There, in the sea of showers, a geology hammer and a falcon feather rest side by side in the lunar dust. They were placed there not as a memorial, but as a simple, elegant demonstration for the cameras during the Apollo 15 mission. With the whole world watching, Commander David Scott held them out at the same height and let them go. In the perfect vacuum of the lunar surface, with no air resistance to slow it down, the feather fell at the exact same rate as the hammer, striking the gray soil at the very same instant. It was a live, breathtaking confirmation of a principle Galileo had theorized centuries earlier, a fundamental truth of the universe acted out on another world. The applause from Mission Control was for more than just a successful stunt. It was for a moment of pure understanding, and when the broadcast ended, Scott simply left them there. To this day, that hammer and that feather remain exactly where they landed, completely undisturbed. The Moon has no wind, no weather, no erosion. Not a single mote of dust has blown over them. They are a perfect, permanent snapshot of that moment of scientific triumph. It is perhaps the most beautifully simple experiment in human history, its result eternally validated by two silent objects waiting for a return visit that may not come for generations. They are a testament not to our power but to our curiosity, a quiet question answered and left as a gift on the shores of an alien sea. That silent hammer and feather are monuments to human curiosity, but other permanent memorials in the void carry a far more personal weight. A company called Celestes has specialized in turning the final remains of people into cosmic travelers. They load small, cylindrical capsules with symbolic portions of cremated ashes, about the size of a tube of lipstick for each person, and launch them aboard commercial rockets. Once in space, these capsules are released, becoming artificial satellites of Earth or, on some missions, sent on trajectories to drift forever in the vastness of the solar system. Among the most famous passengers is Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, whose ashes were launched in 1997. His final journey fulfilled a fictional promise made by his own creation, to explore strange new worlds not in life but in death. He is now a permanent part of the cosmos he helped inspire millions to dream about. This practice raises profound and deeply personal questions. Is this a beautiful form of memorialization, a final act of exploration that transforms a loved one into a literal star traveler? Or is it a step toward cluttering the sacred emptiness of space with our most intimate remnants? There is a powerful sentiment in the idea of a person's essence sailing among the stars, a poetic closure that echoes ancient traditions of sky burial. Yet, it also means that our orbital pathways are now shared with countless silent, sentinel urns, a cemetery without borders. Each capsule is a story, a life remembered not with a stone on the ground, but with a speck of humanity cast adrift in the eternal night, forever circling the planet they once called home. But long before we began sending our own artifacts into the void, the solar system itself delivered a visitor from a place we can only imagine. In October 2017, a telescope in Hawaii spotted an object moving at such a tremendous speed that its trajectory could only mean one thing. It was not from here. This was Oumuamua, the first interstellar object ever detected passing through our cosmic neighborhood. Its name, from Hawaiian, appropriately means a messenger from the distant past. And what a strange messenger it was. Its shape alone defied all expectation. While most asteroids and comets are roughly spherical or lumpy, Oumuamua was profoundly elongated, shaped like a giant cosmic cigar or a pancake tumbling end over end through space. Its length was estimated to be up to 10 times greater than its width, a form never before seen in a natural object, but its strangeness did not end with its appearance. As it hurtled away from the sun, something inexplicable happened. It accelerated. Its speed increased in a way that could not be explained by gravity alone. This non-gravitational acceleration was the detail that truly set scientific minds ablaze. For a typical comet, such a push could be explained by outgassing, as the sun's heat vaporizes ice on its surface, creating jets that act like tiny thrusters. Yet Oumuamua showed no visible coma, no tail of gas and dust that all comets produce. It was dark, rocky, and apparently dry, a silent, tumbling rock that was somehow propelling itself. This single contradiction launched 1,000 theories. Mainstream science scrambled for explanations, proposing that maybe it was a dusty fractal-like object, or a chunk of frozen hydrogen ice that could vaporize without leaving a visible trail. But the mystery of its acceleration also opened the door to a more speculative and captivating possibility. Could Oumuamua be an artificial object, a derelict light sail from an alien civilization, its thin, wide structure catching the radiation pressure from stars as it voyages between solar systems? The scientific community largely rejects this idea, yet the very fact it was seriously debated highlights just how peculiar this visitor was. It did not fit into any of our neat categories. It was not a standard comet nor a standard asteroid. It was a category of one, an enigmatic traveler that passed through our backyard, offered a few cryptic clues, and then vanished back into the interstellar dark from whence it came. We had only a few weeks to observe it, and by the time we knew it was there, it was already leaving. Oumuamua is now gone, but its legacy is a permanent scar on our understanding. It forced us to admit that the universe is capable of producing things we have never dreamed of, and that the next strange object to drift into view might not be one of ours. While the cosmos is filled with our mechanical ghosts and silent monuments, one of the most active and unsettling experiments is happening inside the International Space Station itself. Tucked away in specialized growth chambers are floating Petri dishes, each one a miniature, self-contained laboratory for the study of life itself. Scientists are not just growing bacteria in space, they are actively encouraging it to evolve. In the absence of Earth's gravity, these microscopic organisms behave in profoundly different ways. Their growth patterns change, often becoming more robust and forming dense, three-dimensional structures that are far more resistant to antibiotics than their Earth-bound counterparts. This research is crucial for protecting astronaut health on long-duration missions, as a simple infection could become a life-threatening crisis millions of miles from help. But these evolving colonies represent something far larger than a medical concern. They are a direct test of life's incredible tenacity, a glimpse into how the simplest organisms might adapt to the extreme environment of space. Every mutation, every new survival strategy observed in these floating dishes is a data point in one of humanity's biggest questions. If our own microbes can become hardier, more resilient space travelers, what does that mean for our future voyages to Mars and beyond? We could be unintentionally seeding other worlds with our own stowaways, tiny Earth life hitching a ride on our spacecraft and potentially contaminating pristine environments. These silent, blooming cultures are more than an experiment, they are a profound responsibility. We are watching evolution unfold in real time, and the results could define the rules of planetary protection for centuries to come. That silent, unseen evolution of microbes in orbit is a ghost of our own making, but the early space race is haunted by even darker phantoms. For decades, a chilling conspiracy theory has persisted, whispering of lost cosmonauts. The story goes that the Soviet Union, desperate to beat the Americans into space, launched men and women on secret, one-way missions that ended in tragedy. According to these grim tales, these pioneers died in orbit or during failed re-entries, their deaths covered up by a government unwilling to admit defeat. If such missions truly happened, could fragments of them still be circling our planet? Believers in this theory suggest that listening devices or other tools from these ghost ships might still be silently tumbling through the void, metallic tombs holding the secrets of a hidden space program. The evidence for this is, and always has been, entirely circumstantial. It relies on alleged intercepted radio transmissions of dying astronauts and grainy photographs that are easily explained as misidentified space debris. The truth is far less dramatic, though no less tragic. The Soviet space program did suffer fatal accidents like the horrific launch pad disaster that killed Valentin Bondarenko, but these events happened on the ground, not in secret orbit. The lost cosmonaut theory endures not because of facts, but because it taps into the very real secrecy and paranoia of the Cold War. It represents the ultimate fear of that era, that human lives were considered expendable for the sake of political victory. So while there are almost certainly no ghost ships with Russian voices still echoing from their radios, the story itself has achieved a kind of orbital permanence. It is a cultural artifact, a dark legend that reminds us how easily the truth can be lost in the vastness of space, and how the desire to win can cast long, lingering shadows. Hidden among the gray dust of the moon, a tiny aluminum figure lies forever on its side. This is the fallen astronaut, a sculpture barely 4 inches tall, placed there by the crew of Apollo 15. Beside it rests a small plaque etched with 14 names. These are the astronauts and cosmonauts from both the United States and the Soviet Union who lost their lives in the pursuit of space exploration up to that time. The act was not part of the official mission plan. Commander David Scott and his crew placed it there privately, a quiet, human moment of remembrance in the midst of a monumental scientific endeavor. It is the first and only true art installation on another world. In that airless, soundless environment, this simple sculpture carries a weight far beyond its physical size. It is not a flag marking a conquest, but a memorial for the universal cost of reaching for the stars. The figure is anonymous, without race or nationality, a symbol for every life given to this grand effort. And it was placed facing upward so that it would appear to be looking back at the blue earth hanging in its black sky. It is a monument to sacrifice that transcends borders and politics, a silent tribute that will stand for millions of years, untouched by wind or rain, a permanent reminder of the price of our greatest adventure. The silent memorial on the moon honors those we lost, but another artifact, lost not in tribute but in a moment of simple human error, continues to circle our planet unseen. During the Gemini 10 mission in 1966, astronaut Michael Collins was performing a crucial spacewalk. As he maneuvered outside the capsule, a specialized Hasselblad camera, an expensive and vital tool for documenting the mission, drifted from his grip. There was no sound, no clatter, just the silent, steady departure of a piece of history. This was not a spare glove or a bag of tools. It was a sophisticated device potentially loaded with film that had captured unprecedented views of Earth and space. In an instant, it transformed from a tool of discovery into a high-speed satellite. That vintage camera, a relic of photographic history, is likely still up there. It has been orbiting Earth for over half a century, a time capsule from the early days of space exploration tumbling endlessly through the void. What images, now permanently latent on that film, were lost to the cosmos? Every orbit it completes is a silent reminder of the fragile line between a historic record and a forgotten relic, a piece of our past forever locked in a perpetual loop around our future. Even on a dead world, the ground can shift in the most peculiar ways. The Mars rover Opportunity was a robotic geologist, a tireless explorer that spent years trundling across the red sands. One day, mission controllers received its regular photo transmission from Meridiani Planum, and there, sitting in a patch of soil that had been completely empty just days before, was a rock. It was white on the outside with a deep red interior, and it looked for all the world as if someone had just placed it there. The team named it Pinnacle Island, and for a moment the entire world held its breath. Had something moved it? Was it evidence of some kind of geological process no one understood? The internet, of course, buzzed with more exotic possibilities. The truth, once the rover's own data was fully analyzed, was far more mundane and yet somehow just as wonderful. Opportunity itself was the culprit. As the rover had maneuvered, one of its wheels had likely clipped a larger rock hidden just beneath the surface, kicking this smaller, stranger one into view. It was a simple case of cosmic billiards, a robotic explorer accidentally flipping over a stone and revealing a secret it had been sitting on all along. The frenzy faded, but the lesson remained. This was not evidence of Martians, but of something just as profound. It was a perfect demonstration of how exploration is filled with serendipity. Our mechanical proxies are not just following a script, they are actively interacting with an alien environment. And sometimes the most fascinating discoveries are the ones they literally stumble upon. That high-tech disposal system for astronaut urine is just one part of a much larger and smellier challenge. Life aboard the International Space Station generates a constant stream of waste, from food packaging and used clothing to used wipes and other general refuse. With supply ships arriving only every few months, the station cannot simply accumulate this garbage. The solution is as straightforward as it is bizarre. When a cargo craft like a Cygnus or a Progress spacecraft finishes its resupply mission and is ready to depart, it is loaded up with all the accumulated trash. The spacecraft then undocks and, on a controlled command, performs a deorbit burn, deliberately steering itself and its contents into the atmosphere where everything is incinerated over a remote area of the ocean. But what about the trash that accumulates between these cargo ship departures? For that, the crew has a more immediate and much weirder option. They pack old cargo bags, the kind used to transport supplies, with compacted dry trash. Then, during a spacewalk, an astronaut will simply open the airlock and jettison the entire bag, giving it a gentle push away from the station. For a brief period, that bag of garbage becomes an independent satellite. It joins the orbital dance, a lumpy, unguided object containing the mundane leftovers of daily life in space, circling the planet at over 17,000 miles per hour. It does not have a rocket or any guidance system. It is just a bag of trash on a ballistic path, its fate sealed by the thin tendrils of Earth's upper atmosphere. Within a few months, the drag will finally catch it, pulling it down for a final, blazing descent. It is a strange and humbling thought that our planet is occasionally orbited by our own discarded refuse, a silent reminder that even in the pristine environment of orbit, we still have to take out the trash. The silence of a dead satellite is supposed to be permanent, yet in 2012, an amateur astronomer in England named Phil Williams was sweeping the sky with his homemade radio equipment when he found something impossible. He detected a faint, wavering signal, a ghost on a frequency that should have been empty. After meticulous tracking, he identified the source, and it defied all logic. It was a satellite called LES-1, a military communications craft built by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and launched all the way back in 1965. This machine had been declared dead for almost half a century. Its mission was a failure from the start, a rocket malfunction leaving it stranded in a low, useless orbit. Its systems were never activated, and it was quickly forgotten, just another piece of space junk circling the globe in an eternal slumber. So how could a complex piece of 1960s electronics, frozen and battered by decades of brutal radiation and temperature swings, possibly wake itself up? The most plausible theory is as strange as the event itself. Over the long decades, the satellite's internal wiring likely degraded, creating a short circuit that somehow bridged power from its still-functioning solar panels directly to its transmitter. The machine was not operating with intelligence or purpose. It was essentially having a catastrophic electrical seizure. Its tumbling motion as it ended through space caused its solar panels to charge in the sunlight and then go dark, creating the distinctive, ghostly wail that Phil Williams heard, a rhythmic, haunting signal that pulsed with the satellite's slow rotation. LES-1 spoke for a few years before falling silent again, its final words a bizarre and unintended coda to a mission long past. It was a message from a ghost, a whisper from the dawn of the space age that reminded us our creations in the void can sometimes have a life of their own. Even our grandest robotic explorers can carry a touch of whimsy into the void. When the Juno spacecraft launched in 2011 on its daring mission to Jupiter, its cargo was strictly scientific, designed to peer through the gas giant's obscuring clouds. But tucked safely inside were three very special and very small passengers. They were Lego figurines, custom-made from space-grade aluminum to withstand the extreme environment. One represented the Roman god Jupiter, king of the gods, holding a lightning bolt. Beside him was his wife Juno, the spacecraft's namesake, holding a magnifying glass to symbolize her search for the truth. The third was the astronomer Galileo Galilei, holding his famous telescope and a miniature Jupiter. This was not a child's toy stowed away as a prank. It was a deliberate partnership between NASA and the Lego company, a project meant to inspire the next generation of engineers and scientists. These tiny figures became the most distant human-made artifacts of their kind, silent ambassadors on a multi-billion-mile journey. They are a profound reminder that our drive to explore is not just about cold data and hard science. It is also about storytelling, about connecting our ancient myths and our scientific history to the raw, unexplored frontier. Long after Juno's mission ends and the spacecraft plunges into Jupiter's crushing atmosphere, the data it gathered will live on in our textbooks. But the memory of those three aluminum figures, a god, a goddess, and a genius sailing forever through the outer darkness, will live on in our imagination, a perfect fusion of human creativity and cosmic curiosity. Even the most elegant spacewalk can be interrupted by a basic, undeniable human need. For years, this presented one of NASA's most stubborn and uncomfortable challenges. How do you handle an astronaut's waste during a spacewalk that could last for 12 hours or more? The bulky, adult diaper-like systems currently in use are a temporary solution at best, posing serious health risks like infection on longer missions. So NASA did something unprecedented. They turned to the public, launching an open innovation challenge with a very clear and very human goal. Design a better way for an astronaut to go to the bathroom inside a sealed spacesuit for up to 6 days. The winner, submitted by a flight surgeon, an engineer, and a professor, was as ingenious as it was bizarre. The system is a miniature airlock built directly into the suit's underwear. It uses a small, rotating hatch to pass waste out of the suit's interior without exposing the astronaut to the vacuum of space. Worn inside the suit, it includes a silicone relief patch to create a seal and a hose for liquids, all leading to a compact storage area. While this winning design has not yet been launched into orbit, its very existence marks a profound milestone. It is a tangible solution to one of the least glamorous yet most critical problems of living beyond Earth. Every strange artifact we have sent into the void, from sports cars to frozen urine, speaks to our ambition. This unbuilt invention speaks to our biology. It is a quiet acknowledgement that for humanity to truly become a spacefaring species, we must first solve the small, messy, and utterly human problems that follow us wherever we go. High above, a silent constellation of our own making is slowly falling apart. Tumbling among the larger satellites are countless tiny, mirror-like objects called retroreflectors. These are not simple pieces of glass. They are meticulously engineered cubes, often made of corner-mounted silica, designed to bounce light directly back to its source with incredible precision. They are vital components on many satellites, used for precise laser ranging to measure orbital distances down to a few millimeters. But in the harsh environment of space, things break. A small piece of debris, no larger than a grain of sand, can strike a satellite with the force of a bullet, chipping off one of these tiny, perfect mirrors. Once freed, the retroreflector becomes an independent speck, spinning wildly as it continues its orbital path. And when the angle is just right, when its polished face catches the sun while you are standing in the shadow of night, it creates a sudden, breathtaking event. For a second or two, a new star ignites in the sky. It flares with a brilliant, silent light far brighter than any true star, and then, just as suddenly, it winks out. You have not witnessed a celestial phenomenon, but a technological one. That fleeting beacon was a lost piece of a satellite, a shard of our ambition reflecting the sun back at us. These transient stars are ghostly echoes of our presence, reminding us that even our most precise tools can become sources of unexpected and beautiful chaos. The lunar surface is now home to two of the most distant golf balls in the universe. During the Apollo 14 mission in 1971, astronaut Alan Shepard pulled off a stunt that blended high science with pure human playfulness. He had secretly modified a 6-iron golf club head, attaching it to the handle of a lunar sample collection tool. With the whole world watching via a shaky television camera, he dropped 2 golf balls onto the gray dust. Swinging with one hand in his bulky, pressurized spacesuit, he took his famous shots. The first, he later admitted, was more of a duff, merely scooting the ball into a nearby crater. But the second shot, he declared, sent the ball soaring for miles and miles. In the moon's low gravity and perfect vacuum, with no air resistance to slow it down, a well-struck ball truly could travel a phenomenal distance. Those two balls did not simply vanish into the blackness, however. They landed somewhere on the vast, empty plains of the Fra-Moro region and have been sitting there completely undisturbed for over half a century. There is no wind to blow them, no rain to wash them away. They rest exactly where they landed, two white spheres against an endless gray landscape, a permanent monument to a moment of pure, unscripted joy. This was not on the official mission checklist. It was a human being standing on another world who decided to do something wonderfully, brilliantly pointless. In an environment of immense risk and profound scientific purpose, Alan Shepard reminded us that exploration is not just about collecting rocks and planting flags. It is also about the spirit of curiosity and the sheer delight of being somewhere no one has ever been before. Those two golf balls are more than just sports equipment. They are a message from humanity to the cosmos. We have not only come in peace and for science, but we have also come to play. A satellite can die and then live again. This is the strange story of MC-14, a communication satellite that refused to become just another ghost in the graveyard orbit. Its troubles began in 2008 when a rocket malfunction left it stranded in a useless, elliptical path, a lopsided loop that rendered its primary mission impossible. Its owners, a commercial company, declared it a total loss, a multi-million-dollar piece of hardware destined for the cosmic scrap heap. But a team of engineers saw a glimmer of life in the machine. They embarked on a radical, year-long rescue operation, a high-stakes game of orbital chess played with the laws of physics. The satellite had a limited amount of fuel, not enough to correct its initial trajectory, but perhaps just enough for a different kind of journey. The engineers devised a brilliant multi-stage plan. They used the moon. By carefully directing the satellite on a series of long, looping orbits, they used the moon's own gravity as a slingshot, gently tugging and nudging the spacecraft over many months. This celestial dance, a slow and patient maneuver, gradually reshaped its orbit, circularizing it and eventually placing it into a stable, useful position. MC-14 was reborn. It never fulfilled its original purpose, but it found a new life, leased to a different company to provide services it was never designed for. This zombie satellite, brought back from a technical death, represents a new era in space operations. It is no longer just about launching new machines, but about salvaging, repurposing, and extending the life of the ones we already have. What other dormant giants currently drifting in the darkness might be waiting for a clever nudge to wake them back up? That lost camera is not the only handheld tool to have made a daring escape. The harsh reality of working in a vacuum means that a simple slip can turn the most ordinary object into a permanent, high-speed resident of low Earth orbit. Consider the humble screwdriver. On a spacewalk in 2007, during the intense work of assembling the International Space Station, astronaut Scott Parazynski was repairing a damaged solar array when a grease gun inside his tool pouch burst. In the messy, urgent effort to clean his gloves and continue the repair, a single pistol-grip tool, a specialized and powerful space-rated drill, slipped from its tether. It drifted away, a sophisticated and expensive piece of hardware instantly transformed into a piece of orbital debris. This was not an isolated incident. Over the years, other astronauts have reported near misses with untethered tools, watching in heart-stopping slow motion as a wrench or a socket begins a slow, silent departure. There is no calling it back. In the weightless environment, even the slightest push can send an object on an irreversible journey. Once free, that screwdriver or drill does not simply hang in space waiting to be collected. It enters its own independent orbit, traveling at roughly 17,000 miles per hour. At that velocity, a tiny screw carries the kinetic energy of a cannonball. This transforms every lost tool from a simple mistake into a potential catastrophe, a miniature bullet capable of piercing a spacesuit or puncturing a module. These mundane objects, so familiar in our workshops on Earth, become stark reminders of the unforgiving physics of space. They illustrate with terrifying clarity why every single item on a spacewalk must be tethered, checked, and double-checked. The void is a place of absolute consequence where a single spinning screwdriver can become a permanent and deadly monument to human fallibility. The universe is profoundly, unsettlingly silent. We have scanned the skies for decades, listening for a single whisper of another civilization, and have heard nothing but the natural background hum of the cosmos. This eerie quiet has led some scientists to propose a chilling possibility, the Great Filter Hypothesis. The idea suggests that at some point in the evolution of all intelligent life, a nearly insurmountable barrier arises. This filter, whether it is self-destruction through war, an environmental collapse, or a technological catastrophe, prevents species from ever reaching the stars and becoming a galactic community. The silence, then, is not a sign that we are alone, but a graveyard marker. It is the sound of countless civilizations that reached our level of development and then vanished. But what if the filter is not a destructive event, but a transformative one? What if successful civilizations do not die out, but instead they transcend? They might leave their biological forms behind, merging with machines or uploading their consciousness into a digital existence, becoming something we simply could not perceive or communicate with. Their physical presence in the universe would end, replaced by something utterly alien and invisible to our telescopes, or perhaps they leave something else behind. A more tangible and even more bizarre version of this theory involves self-replicating probes. Imagine a civilization so advanced that it launches a single, intelligent robotic probe towards a nearby star system. Upon arrival, this probe uses the raw materials of asteroids and moons to build copies of itself. Those copies then launch to other stars, and the process repeats, spreading across the entire galaxy in a surprisingly short cosmic time frame. The galaxy should be teeming with these ancient, silent observers. So where are they? One answer is that they are already here, and we are looking right at them. This brings us back to our collection of cosmic oddities. Could one of the strange objects we have already found be such an artifact? Consider the bizarre properties of Oumuamua, that first interstellar visitor. Its unusual shape, its lack of a visible cometary tail, and its mysterious non-gravitational acceleration. While most scientists lean towards natural explanations, could its traits be the hallmarks of a derelict light sail, a fragment of an ancient, self-replicating probe that has been traveling between stars for millions of years? Or what about the WTF object, that uncatalogued satellite in the geostationary belt? Could a truly ancient probe, its original purpose long forgotten, have maneuvered itself into that stable orbit to watch our world, studying the rise and fall of species over millennia? The most unsettling possibility is not that we are alone, but that we are surrounded by the archaeological remnants of civilizations that came before us, and we lack the context to even recognize them. A self-replicating probe would not necessarily look like a sleek starship from our science fiction. After eons of travel, it might appear as a weathered, irregular rock, its internal machinery long dormant or operating on principles we cannot yet comprehend. It would be the ultimate cosmic camouflage. The Great Filter Hypothesis forces us to confront a deeply humbling thought. Every unexplained flash, every odd tumbling object, every anomaly in our data could be a signal. We might be sifting through the ruins of a galactic empire without even knowing it, mistaking its greatest artifacts for mere space junk. The silence is not empty, it is simply waiting for us to learn how to listen. A flag never planted is a symbol that never dies. When the Israeli Bereshit lander approached the moon in 2019, its mission was a historic first for a private company, and its cargo was deeply symbolic. It carried a digital time capsule, a lunar library the size of a DVD, containing 30 million pages of human knowledge, from children's drawings to the entirety of the English Wikipedia. Alongside this archive of our species was the intention to plant a small Israeli flag on the lunar surface, a marker of a new era of commercial exploration. But during its final descent, a main engine failure sent the spacecraft tumbling. Mission controllers fought to reset the system, but it was too late. Bereshit crashed into the Sea of Serenity at over 3,000 miles per hour. The impact shattered the lander, scattering its components across the grey regolith. That flag, whether a physical cloth or a digital image etched onto the lunar library's nickel discs, now lies amidst the wreckage. It never fulfilled its intended purpose, yet its story is arguably more powerful in its failure. It represents not a triumph but an attempt. It is a ghost of an ambition, a reminder that the path to other worlds is paved with just as many shattered dreams as successful landings. These lost symbols scattered across the lunar soil are the silent counterparts to the flags planted by the Apollo astronauts. They ask a poignant question of their own. Is a symbol's power defined by its success or by the ambition it represented? The wreckage of Bereshit is now a permanent part of the moon, a modern archaeological site where our hopes and our hardware lie intermingled in the dust. These drifting cubes of science represent another kind of ghost, one that never even had a chance to speak. Throughout the era of the Space Shuttle and continuing with the International Space Station, astronauts have deployed self-contained experiment packages into the void. These are not simple instruments, they are sophisticated, independent laboratories sealed within protective boxes, often equipped with their own power, sensors, and communications. Their missions were varied and vital, designed to study the long-term effects of the space environment on new materials, or to observe cosmic rays without the interference of a large spacecraft. The procedure is precise. An astronaut during a spacewalk carefully maneuvers the container out of the cargo bay or an airlock, gives it a gentle push, and watches as it drifts away to begin its autonomous mission. But in the unforgiving realm of orbit, success is never guaranteed. Some of these science cubes suffered catastrophic failures from the very beginning. A communications antenna failed to deploy, a solar panel refused to unfurl, or an internal computer simply never booted up. In an instant, a multi-million-dollar investment in knowledge transformed into a silent, inert brick. What was meant to be a beacon of data becomes just another piece of high-tech debris, tumbling end over end. Its polished surfaces might still catch the sun, gleaming like a promise, but inside, its sensors are blind and its recorders are silent. It carries questions that will never be answered, experiments frozen in a perpetual state of incompletion. These lost packages are particularly poignant failures. They are not grand monuments like Vanguard one, nor whimsical stunts like a sports car. They are unread books, their pages forever sealed, drifting in a library without a librarian. They remind us that for every triumphant discovery in space, there are countless others that simply vanish into the silence, their potential forever locked inside a tumbling metal box. Some of the most profound artifacts in our collection were never launched by any rocket. Scattered across the icy plains of Antarctica and the vast stretches of desert sand are stones that fell from the sky, but their origin is not from our own world. These are meteorites from the Moon and even from Mars. Before they crashed into our planet, these rocks were floating through the immense, silent gulf of interplanetary space for millions, perhaps even billions of years. They are natural, ancient travelers, and we have become their accidental collectors. The journey of a Martian meteorite begins with violence. A massive asteroid or comet slams into the red planet with such unimaginable force that it blasts fragments of the Martian crust free from the planet's gravity. These rocks are then flung into space, becoming tiny, independent asteroids on long, elliptical orbits around the Sun. They drift through the solar system, subjected to cosmic radiation and the subtle tug of planetary gravity for eons. Eventually, through a celestial dance of chance, one of these orbits intersects with our own. The rock is captured by Earth's gravity, pulled into our atmosphere, and plunges to the ground in a fiery descent. The ones we find are the survivors, the fragments tough enough to withstand the inferno of re-entry. When scientists analyze them, the evidence is undeniable. Tiny bubbles of gas trapped inside these rocks have a chemical signature that is a perfect match for the Martian atmosphere, as measured by our rovers on the surface. So what does this mean? It means that sitting in laboratories right now are pieces of another planet. We did not have to go and get them, they came to us. These wandering stones are more than just geological curiosities. They are pieces of a world we are desperately trying to reach, and they raise a staggering possibility. If rocks from Mars can travel to Earth, could rocks from Earth have traveled to Mars? Could our own planet have, entirely by accident, seeded the red world with microscopic life billions of years ago? The strangest things floating in space are not always our own creations. Sometimes they are the shattered pieces of worlds themselves, carrying secrets across the cosmos and delivering them to our doorstep. Floating further from Earth than any other object we have ever built, two identical golden discs are sailing into the void. These are the Voyager golden records, mounted on the sides of the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft. Launched in 1977, their primary mission was to explore the outer planets, a task they performed with breathtaking success, sending back the first detailed images of Jupiter's swirling storms and Saturn's intricate rings. But their ultimate purpose was far more profound. The records are time capsules designed to last for 1 billion years, carrying a message from humanity to any civilization that might one day find them. Etched onto their copper surfaces and protected by a casing of uranium-238, which acts as a radioactive clock, are the carefully curated sounds and images of our world. There are the haunting songs of humpback whales, the fierce crackle of thunder, and the gentle patter of rain. There is the sound of a human heartbeat, a mother kissing her child, and the frantic chatter of a newsroom. The visual selections include diagrams of human anatomy, photographs of people from around the globe going about their daily lives, and precise astronomical maps pointing back to our solar system. It is a portrait of a species, a desperate and hopeful shout into the cosmic silence. Today, both Voyager spacecraft have left the protective bubble of the Sun's influence and entered the true interstellar medium. They are utterly alone, drifting through the dark between the stars. The nuclear power sources that allowed them to phone home are slowly dying, and within a few years their voices will fall silent forever. But the golden records will remain, their messages intact. They are not space junk, they are the opposite. They are the most deliberate, the most optimistic, and arguably the weirdest artifacts we have ever cast adrift. They carry no practical function, only a story of a curious, fragile, and beautiful world placed aboard two silent ships on a journey that will outlive our sun. They are our final entry on this list, and perhaps our most lasting signature on the universe. From forgotten gloves and frozen urine to silent memorials and interstellar messages, our journey through the cosmos reveals a gallery of human ambition. These are not just pieces of metal and plastic, they are chapters in our story. Each artifact, whether a purposeful pioneer like Vanguard 1 or an accidental satellite like a lost toolbag, represents a facet of our collective reach into the void. They tell a tale of brilliant science and simple human error, of solemn tribute and whimsical stunts. This strange collection, scattered from low Earth orbit to the space between the stars, forms a narrative of a species taking its first tentative, messy, and utterly wonderful steps beyond its home world. We have filled the silence with our ghosts, our garbage, and our greatest hopes. So tell me, as you look up at the night sky, which of these peculiar travelers captures your imagination the most? Was it the silent Roadster, the talking ghost satellite, or the lonely memorial on the moon? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysteries floating over our heads, be sure to subscribe for more journeys to the final frontier.